Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we got something a little bit different. We're going to be exploring Dystopian Wars from War Cradle Studios. So there's a running joke in the wargaming hobby community that the older you get, eventually you turn your back on all the sci-fi and fantasy games and you turn into a historical wargamer. I'm not quite old enough to completely throw away the fantastical elements, but I have dabbled in the historical. But I do prefer them to be weird, and that is exactly what Dystopian Wars delivers. So if you're unfamiliar with the Dystopian Wars setting, essentially a cabal of scientist nerds end up discovering alien artifacts in Antarctica in the mid 1800s and pretty much start distributing this alien technology throughout the world to the various powers that be. And all of these nations start forming power block coalitions, where eventually you get seven political coalitions, and then you have the nerds themselves that create the eighth, and everybody is sort of experimenting with this alien technology, and that's giving a huge boost to human scientific advancement. And then eventually it all culminates to a point where essentially we get the Cold War in the late 1800s. So naval warfare is the mode of the day, and that's what Dystopian Wars is. So you get surface ships, you get submersibles, submarines, and then you also get aerial units, all sort of doing this really cool paper rock scissors gameplay style. So that's enough rambling. Let's actually dig into this starter set and why it's such a great deal and why you should consider buying in yourself. So on the back, they detail out everything that you're going to get in the box. So you're going to get the Congo Heavy Battleship. You're going to get two cruisers that can build one of 8 varieties per ship. You get 4 Kyoto frigates, going to be these little guys. You get the Cheetah Automata, which are like upgrade tokens that some of your ships can buy for the Empire faction. You're going to get 2 of the large submersibles, which can be built as one of 6 different variants. You're going to get some SRS tokens and some Exosub tokens, which are sort of launch assets. You're going to get 2 of the smaller Chubu submarines and then 2 Cicada destroyers. You're also going to get the rulebook, the card deck that you need to play the game, all the special dice you need, a token sheet, and a template set. Now, before we actually crack open the box, I want to point out why this is such a great deal for your money. All right, so on the screen, you'll see I have these 3 products in my cart, and these prices are all in USD, and this is a discount retailer, so it's a little bit under MSRP here. But you see the Rules and Gubbin set. There's one of the Japanese Frontline Squadron boxes, and there's the Japanese Support Squadrons box. Now, these 3 products are all contained in the starter set. So as you can see, even with the discounts, this is going to come out to $108 roughly USD. And then, you're going to pay tax, depending on where you go, you might pay shipping, etc. But with the Empire starter set, again, this same discount retailer, they're giving you roughly 10% off. You only pay $72. And the starter set actually comes with that extra resin battleship. There is a separate box where you'd be able to get that battleship, so it's not locked to the Empire starter set. But as you can see, just the starter set bundle in and of itself, you're saving a good chunk of change and getting an extra flagship for your new fleet. And even though we're looking at the Empire set today, all of the factions in the game, the main coalitions, I should say, all have a starter set just like the Empire. Now, it is worth mentioning that all of those big coalitions all have sub-factions. So, like for the Empire coalition, there's the Japanese, the Chinese, and then the Koreans. And the sub-factions don't all necessarily have starter sets. They do have fleet boxes for a majority of them, but a lot of those fleet boxes don't come with the rules. So that makes the starter set typically a really good purchase, no matter what faction you're going into. But do be aware that if you really like one of the particular sub factions, there might not be an actual starter box available for that sub faction at this time. All right, so that's enough rambling. Let's go ahead and do this unboxing. So right off the bat, I'm loving this packaging, and so spoiler alert, I've opened one of these off camera already. So the packaging just looks and feels very, very high quality, and it's also packed very, very well so that your minis have the greatest chance of arriving to you in perfect condition. So first up, you get a fold-out map. Unfortunately, I'm not going to open this just because I don't have enough space. But yeah, so this map is the geopolitical sort of state of the world as of 1871 in their alternate history timeline. You're also going to get a small format rulebook. This is the complete version of the rules, and you can see the version number of the rulebook down here at the bottom. The rules are also available for free on the War Cradle Studios website. It's a living rulebook, so the website will always have the most recent copy of the rules. I do believe that we're actually up to version 3.05, which came in my other box. So your hard copy rulebook might be out of date, but the up-to-date rules are always going to be on the website. So now we also get a token sheet, which all these tokens represent various game states that your ships can be in. They are double-sided and pretty good, thick quality cardstock. Very clear colors on there. We get our Victory and Valor card deck. One of these are required to play the game. So that's another reason why the starter sets are such a great buy. If you do opt to get a Battlefleet box instead of a starter set, you can buy these separately in that Rules and Gubbins pack. We've got our critical effect dice. So while we're talking about dice, the game does use custom D6 dice, 2 types. So there's the critical effect dice, which essentially just mark critical hit statuses on models. And then you have your action dice, which show hits, defense, misses, and criticals. So I won't dive into a full deep dive of the rules here, but your miniatures in the game don't have like to hit numbers as you would normally see in a lot of war games. This uses a dice pool mechanic where everybody's rolling the same custom dice, but the more devastating a weapon is, the more of these dice that you roll. They also have an exploding hit mechanic, so whenever you roll, the equivalent of a 6, that counts as 2 hits, and then you roll an extra free dice, and that can continue forever. So potentially, even the smallest, weakest ship in the game can potentially punch above its weight and do work for you if you're rolling hot. So we get our dice. these tokens are used for your SRS and Exosub miniatures. And then you get a nice giant one-piece resin battleship. Let's go ahead and get this open so you guys can see the quality. Absolutely awesome sculpt on these. Now, this particular battleship can be built as two variants based on what turrets you put on it. And the turrets come from the plastic sprues. So the basic sort of non-unique ship is called the Congo. And you can get 3 gun turrets on there. But then there's a unique variant called the Oni, which has a generator filling up one of the spots, and then you only get 2 gun turrets. The cool thing with it, because, you know, less gun sounds terrible, but the generator that it gets lets it teleport around the board, which is freaking awesome. Teleporting battleships. All right, so now we're on to the sprues. So, as we mentioned previously, you're going to get 4 sprues in the box. Let me clear away my desk so that we can get a good look at these. All right, so first up, we've got the Japanese Frontline Squadron sprues. So you're going to get 2 of these, absolutely identical. Each one comes with an SRS token, and then all of the pieces to make 1 cruiser, and then 2 of the, I believe they're called cheetahs. Nope, I lied. Kyoto frigates. So 2 Kyoto frigates, and then 1 of your cruisers. Now, there are a ton of parts on here, because the cruisers can be made in one of 8 different configurations. So I did not mention there's no build instructions in the box. All of the instructions are on the War Cradle website. And so let me pull up the instructions for this box so that we can see how you build those 8 different cruisers. All right, so we're out on the War Cradle website. And as I said previously, all the build instructions are out here for all of the boxes that they sell. So what we want is the Empire Faction starter set. Let's go ahead and open that up, and we'll make this a little bigger for you guys. All right, so for example, with the cruisers here, they all start with the same bridge assembly that you can see on screen here. And then for a couple of them, the Honshu, Hokkaido, Kanagawa, or the Osaka cruiser, they have this extra part that slots into the back. And then for 3 of the builds, they use this short front part of the deck because they only mount 1 battery, weapon battery, on the front of the ship. But then for your other cruisers, use the longer mount because they mount 2 batteries on the front of the ship. And then you've got a couple that have some slightly different build variations. All right, so with all of that said, I do want to make sure that anyone new to the game like me, do not throw away your extra bits, especially these little guys right here. These are all of the different types of generators that your ships can use. So you definitely want to clip those off, paint them, and kind of keep them separate. And then you also get lots of options for your actual weapon batteries. You don't want to throw those away. These kits are sort of meant to supply weapons for more than the ships that just come in the box. So you definitely want to keep these separate and don't throw them away. And another thing to mention is a lot of these are very easy to magnetize with some 3 millimeter by like 2 millimeter magnets. They do have this peg system, so even if you don't magnetize them, you don't necessarily need to glue them down, and that just helps you save more money in the long run. All right, but let's take a look at the next set of sprues. All right, so next up we've got the Japanese support sprues, and these are going to build all of your submersible units. So you've got not quite as many weapon options on here. In fact, you've only got, you know, the one rocket battery and then the one generator here, and another generator up here over in the corner. So that's what I was saying. You want to keep all of your, you know, generators and weapon batteries that you get, because they can actually supply other ships in your fleet that you might buy. You also get your exosub token, one per sprue. And so with this sprue, you're going to build one large submarine and then one small submarine. And then you've also got these little squid-like automata tokens, which are upgrades for some of your ships. And now I'm not going to go back to the build instructions, but for the large submarine, you do have a number of options. Some include a ramming prow. Others have like little grabby tentacles coming out of the front. You can make a more, you know, standard sort of gun battery or rocket battery submarine as well. Tons of options, tons of different ways that you can build and customize these frames. And lastly, we did not want to neglect to mention, you also get your ruler and template frames. So the teardrop in the middle is used for blast damage, as well as two types of teardrop flame attacks. And then you've got the smaller one here in the center. These two bits clip off and become a ruler. And this is your turning template that is used for turning your ships in the middle of a game. But now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the miniatures that I've already built. All right, so here we go. So this is the Congo resin battleship, and I have it in the Oni configuration with the cool little interphase teleport generator in the back. And then all of these are magnetized. So for the resin ship, it was just a single 3x2 millimeter magnet in the hull, and then one in the turret or in the generator, with a little bit of modeling putty to help get a nice tight fit. Always make sure you double check your polarity before you glue anything. And then same thing with the batteries as well. All of those are magnetized. And if I wanted the standard Congo, I could just take that generator off and take a battery of my choice, in this case the gun battery, and just slap that on the back. Now, this isn't like a Tactica, you know, video or anything, but I am really liking the rocket batteries for the Empire wherever you can take them. Now, next up, we have some ships that don't really have any build options. So these are the little Kyoto frigates. They get a small gun battery up front and then broadsides on either side. You're going to get 4 of those in the box. And then here are the Cicada destroyers, which are honestly just slightly bigger Kyotos. So like here they are side by side. It's almost the same ship, but the destroyer gets an extra gun battery in the back. You're going to get 2 of those. And then here are the little tiny Chubu submersibles. Now, for the ships that do have options, I'll go through how I built mine. So for my large submarines, I built both of mine as Ryujin submarines, which they mount the heavy alchemical rockets, which I mentioned previously. I'm a huge fan of. So I built both of mine as that, but I could. So I glued this hull piece down, which limits the type of subs that these can represent. I could have magnetized it. I didn't want to deal with it. But by swapping the rocket launcher out for a generator, I can make this a Kagetsuchi. Now, for the cruisers, I went ahead and made Osaka class cruisers. Mostly because I'm running the Oni and it can teleport. I wanted a cruiser squadron that could also mount an interface generator and still have some nice firepower. And the Ahsoka with the, or Osaka rather, with the two mounting points give you that option. So I went ahead and built both of those in that configuration. But the nice thing is with these being magnetizable, I can still run these as Hokkaidos, Okinawas, or Yamaguchis by just swapping out the mounted options for the turrets. Now, one other thing about magnetization that I wanted to run through is for storage. So with these, being naval miniatures and being kind of awkward, there's also not a lot of foam out on the market for all of the factions just yet. Feldherr over in Germany does some foam options, and Battle Foam has foam options for the old version of the game that was under Spartan games before War Cradle picked up the license and then like revamped the range. So their foam options are kind of out of date. So I wanted to find a way to magnetize these. And after magnetizing all of my Legions Imperialis tanks, I kind of carried forward with my mag block idea, where I just 3D printed a block of plastic that'll sit in the hollow space of the ship and attached to the underside of the decking and would slot a 5x1 millimeter magnet. So for all of the hollow ships, that's what I've done. So a lot of these are just square blocks that will fit in there, or rectangular blocks, I should say. And then the only one that was a little weird was for these Chubus. Uh, it looks like a rectangle on this side, but I don't know if you guys can see in there. It's actually kind of tapered down to, uh, what is that? Like a rhombus or something? I haven't been in geometry in like decades. But yeah, so it's tapered so it'll fit in there. If you guys have access to a 3D printer, highly recommend that you do this so that you can store your ships in like a nice small plastic container. Similar to what I did for Legions Imperialis, I'll put a link up in the cards. I'm going to store these ships the exact same way. Using my trays, although I might need to resize them because the Oni slash Congo is just a few millimeters too tall for my vehicle trays, where the rest of these ships though are maybe 25 millimeters tall on average. So I might resize those trays, and if I do that, I'll go ahead and post them on Cults. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I am going to be painting all of these up relatively soon, so if you're interested in Dystopian Wars, stay tuned for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all the YouTube algorithm stuff. That's a huge help for the channel. I also want to shout out Mr. Roland Lucas, our very first and only channel member. You rock. And until next time, everybody, keep slaying that gray. Oh, and let me down in the know in the comments if this is your first time seeing anything for Dystopian Wars? Are you interested in checking it out? I will be working on some Empire stuff. I have a ton of stuff in the backlog for like their aerial units, a couple more boxes of ships that I can do. But then I've also got some mercenary stuff coming and some stuff for the Union. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments if you want to see more content, and I will see you on the next video.